Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. Today is going to be about modern risk management, real-time tools for today's market volatility. This will be led by Rob Diarco. He's the CEO of Rival Systems.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. Really excited to have the opportunity to show you Rival Risk and give you a little bit of background on Rival. So Rival, we sell multi-asset trading and enterprise risk software. The darker application that you see on the screen, that's our Rival One application, where you can trade futures, equities, and options, and sort of has best of breed functionality for all of those. And then today we're gonna focus on Rival Risk, but I wanted to just mention that we also have a trading platform. And so here we have a Rival Risk product. So Rival Risk is used by proprietary trading firms, hedge fund, asset managers, FCMs, broker dealers, basically all of the professionals in the trading industry to look at real-time risk across all of their accounts. Some of the biggest differentiators, for us versus the competitors are the fact that it's a fully hosted solution. So the way it works is we take start date position files from all the clearing firms. We take intraday trades from the clearing firms as well as from exchanges. And so we offer, that single pane of glass where you can see all the risk across all of your accounts in real time. It's also multi-asset. So we feel like we have the best of breed across all the different asset classes. We support futures, equities, options, cash treasuries, as well as spot FX. And we've worked with all the professionals in the industry to understand the nuances of all those different products and add the features that are needed to handle each of those. And I think one of the biggest differentiators is our accuracy. So a lot of times when people are using a risk system, and let's say on a day like today when the market's moving a lot, things widen out, the markets widen out, and P&L becomes inaccurate. And we pride ourselves on having accurate pricing models. So if you're looking at an option position, we're fitting the implied volatilities in real time. We're not just using mid-market. If you have a position in an illiquid future, we do things where we calculate synthetic pricing for those back month futures or other things we could do to calculate a synthetic price for something that's illiquid, which then the net result is you get accurate P&L, which obviously is the most important thing when you're looking for a risk system. And then the last thing is our support. We really pride ourselves on providing top-notch support, really going above and beyond and supporting our customers. And I always say that you could have the best technology in the world, but if you don't have the right support team, it's that technology is worthless, because in our industry, things are constantly changing. Inevitably, something's going to happen, and it's about how quickly you address that issue. In my mind, that's a big differentiator when you're working with professionals that can support the system. So let's jump right in. Rival Risk is a web-based application, so these are just separate windows that are running a Chrome browser under the hood. I'll touch on each window at a high level first, and then we'll get into the details. And feel free to ask any questions along the way. I'll try to monitor for those and answer them as we can. So in the middle here, this is sort of the main view. I should also mention we'll save the layout of all these windows. So we have a workspace manager where you can create this layout, have it across multiple screens, and then load different layouts and save them. So whatever you do, you can save how things are laid out. This first window here is our live view. So this is where you're going to see the real-time P&L, Greeks, margin, all the stuff that you're going to sort of want to be monitoring in real time throughout the day across all of your accounts. To the right here, we've got a pin risk report. So this is where it's going to be looking at how far away is something from the at the money for things that are expiring today or expiring in the future. And so you can monitor what's the pin risk of all your accounts. To the left over here, we've got a different real-time view. This is by symbol. And so you can see all the P&L across all your accounts, but group it by symbol. So you can see, okay, I'm sorting here to see, what's losing the most, what's making the most. So really easy to monitor things at the symbol level. In the middle, we have scenario analysis. So this is what if the market goes up and down, what if volatility goes up and down. You can create custom shocks and really see, okay, I know what my current P&L is, but what's the real risk if based on certain conditions in the market. Then down here we have our VAR. So this is where you can calculate VAR across all of your accounts on demand. And then we've got over on the bottom left here, our reports. So you can create custom reports, schedule them to run automatically or run them on demand at any time. And then we've got alerting, so you can create custom alerts. So let's say, if you're a big FCM, you're not going to be sitting there watching every single account. You're going to want alerts to be running. So if something happens, it'll automatically alert you. And so the alert features is very, very helpful. Okay, so that gives you a high level overview. What we have loaded in this demo system is all just fake positions. These are not real. So, these are not real positions. So the numbers aren't like going to be what you would expect for a normal position. But it shows the breadth of the system, and we've loaded a lot of stuff across different accounts. So you can kind of see how everything works. Let's focus on the live view. So I'm going to make this bigger so we can really get into this view here. This is, again, what most people use, like the main feature that people use. So I'm just going to expand this out. Okay, so if I collapse things down, I can see things at different hierarchies. So I have 3 levels here: master account, a trading group, and portfolio. And so all of the numbers are being aggregated at each hierarchy. And so then you can drill down and say, okay, at the master account level, what's the P&L? I'm showing some option Greeks here. And then you can drill down and say, okay, within that master account, show me each individual account. And then within an individual account, you can drill down things further. You could have multiple sub accounts, within an account, and you can create these hierarchies yourself, customize them however you want. But the key thing is that we're calculating everything at each level. So if I drill down and I show things at the category level, I can see things across the different types of categories that I'm trading. So here we've got crude oil, equities, S&P products. Let's drill down on the S&P. You can see, I've got ES, SPX, XSP, and then the micro ES. So, we're automatically grouping those things by category. You can create your custom categories if you want. So let's say you don't want to call it S&P, you want to call it something else, or you want to group things differently. You can control that yourself and create custom categories. And then if I drill down to the further level, I can see everything at the options expirations. I can see, what type of option is it, the weeklies versus the regular, and then drill down into the individual options. And then once you get to the individual option level, you can see things like our theoretical price, our implied volatility, what was the previous vol, how much has vol changed, open interest, all that good stuff, at the lowest instrument level. In any of these pages, you could also filter, so let's say you want to just focus on a certain category or a certain underline or specific accounts. You can filter on any of these columns. And there's, tons of different metrics that we have. So rather than scrolling left and right, you can create custom tabs. So I created a margin tab. And so this is going to show me the margin across all the accounts. And so for margin, we've integrated with the OCC. We pull in their theoretical price file. So we calculate risk-based haircuts and customer portfolio margin automatically depending on the account type. That'll be this OCC equity margin number. We've integrated with the ICE's margin engine. So you can see your ICE risk. We integrate with SPAN2. And then you could also see your short option minimum for your SPAN2 products. So these will update in real time as you're trading. And you can see right now I'm just showing current margin. You can see open margin. You can see current margin. You can see percent change in margin. So there's more information that you could see for the margin. And again, we're calculating things at each level. So if at the master account, it's netting all the positions and showing, okay, if I net positions across all my accounts, what's my total margin? And then it's breaking out each account on its own. Again, you can go down the 3 different levels. So it's doing everything at each level, which it helps you sort of see things, and you can group things differently if you want to analyze, what would the margin be if you organized accounts differently. Here I've got a 20% shock. So let's say you want to see shocking the market. We have a whole separate page just for shocks, but if you want to see a specific scenario within the real-time view, you can do that as well. The nice thing about this is, so I could see the same hierarchy, and I can see, okay, what's the P&L down 20%, what's the P&L up 20%, and then I can drill down and see, okay, where is it coming from? So this is S&P, it's coming from, let's say, the SPX here, and I can see all the way down to the individual position, okay, what's the current theoretical for this option? What's the theoretical if I shock it down 20%? What's the theoretical if I shock it up 20%? And so you can really dig down and see with that scenario analysis, where is the P&L really coming from, which then obviously allows you to proactively mitigate that risk by either reducing this position or trading something that's, something else that's going to offset that risk. In this tab, I've got some other key metrics like short market value, long market value, short option value, long option value, net option value. And then a newer metric that we recently added is current equity versus net option value. So we worked with one of our FCM clients to see, okay, how much cash is in the account versus the net option value. So let's say someone's trading a box spread, and the box spread, doesn't have much margin, but you can have a significant notional value for that spread. And so margin probably isn't the best measurement of risk for that spread. And so what this is doing is it's saying, okay, how much equity is in the account, and then what's the total notional value of all the option positions that someone has. And basically you can see, does someone have more notional value than they have cash in the account. You could also filter and have tabs where you're just filtering for certain things. So here I'm just filtering for the category of equities. And so if I expand out, it's just going to show me every account and then just the equities positions. So, you can create tabs and, like I said, filter on a bunch of different things. If I right click and show you all the metrics that we have that you can add to any of these windows, you'll get a sense of the types of stuff that we're doing. Some key ones that I haven't sort of mentioned before, you can show extrinsic value. Dollar cabinet is a helpful one. So that's if something gets priced at a cabinet, but the real value is lower than the cabinet, it's going to tell you what the difference is, so that the day of expiration, when that position goes to 0, you're gonna know kind of what's the true P&L impact, as opposed to just assuming it's at the cabinet value. Percent change in NLV, that's very helpful. Any of the retail broker clients are monitoring this to see, is an account losing a lot of P&L, and they use that to determine if they're going to auto liquidate that account. If we get into the Greeks, we have a few sort of second derivative Greeks like risk reversal and tilt. So risk reversal normalizes your position in terms of the number of synthetic risk reversals that you have on. And then tilt tells you what's your sensitivity to the skew of the option changing. So volatility on the calls is going up, puts is going down, or vice versa. So the combination of risk reversal and tilt tells you really how can you manage your skew risk, basically. And then tons of margin columns. I don't have any cash bonds loaded in this demo, but you can see if you have a cash bond position, we're calculating duration, convexity, DV01, so the things that you'd want to see for a cash bond position. So like I said, you can add or remove any of those columns to any of the tabs that you have in the live view. Okay, let's now talk about the slide page. That's probably the second heaviest or most used page. So that's here. I'm just going to make this bigger. Okay, so this is where you're going to shock the market. You're going to say, okay, what happens if the market goes up and down? What if volatility goes up and down? And so you can have different templates that you can use. So you can create these templates, you can customize them however you want. You can shock things by percent change, standard deviation change, or fixed price moves. You can shock things by times. You can shock a front month. You can shock a front month future differently than a back month future. Lots of customization. You can shock different instruments, different categories, different ways. So you can really customize how you want to do different scenarios of what could happen in the market. Here I'm doing a down, up and down different standard deviations, and then a 20% vol shock. And so I can see across, I've picked these sub accounts that I'm running this on. I can see what's the total P&L across all the accounts. And then I can drill down and see, okay, not just P&L, but I want to see all my Greeks, what's the delta, gamma, vega, ATMs, which are basically at the money equivalents. And then we've got weighted Greeks, so you can normalize the risk, let's say, of your SPX options in terms of E-mini futures, or you can normalize any product into something else. And you can drill down like you would on the other pages, so I can see things by symbol, by category. Unique thing here is I can slice and dice things differently. So let's say I want to see things by category. I'm just going to drag the category column to the furthest left. And now it's showing me, across all my accounts, here's my total corn risk, or here's my total risk in equities. And then I can see, okay, which account has equities, and then what symbols do they have on. Or I can, drag symbol all the way to the left, and then it's going to reorganize everything by symbol. So then I can say, okay, who has, Apple on? And it shows me those accounts. And so it's really easy to slice and dice things from this page. Also, if you don't sort of want to drill down, you can use these buttons up here and say, okay, right now I'm looking at P&L, but what's the delta? What's the gamma? All the stuff that you'd want to see without having to drill down in each category. The other thing you can do is, let's just go back to P&L. You can say, you can do zero base. So right now it has the P&L from today. If I do zero base, it's going to delete that, and then it's going to say, okay, from this point on, what's the P&L going to be if the market goes up and down? It won't take into account the P&L that you've made on the day. You can also run VAR straight from here. You can do expiration processing, run the model ahead. So tons of different stuff that you can do from here. So that's the slides. Now let's talk about VAR. So the way VAR works is that we use Monte Carlo simulations in combination with our own covariance matrix. So we look back 2 years of data, and so we use that historical data to come up with a covariance matrix, which basically says, okay, what's the correlation between every single product? And then we use the historical distribution for each underlying. So we take the covariance matrix, we take the historical distribution, and we feed that into our Monte Carlo engine. And then we do 10,000 simulations. And so this histogram you see on the right-hand side is showing the results of all of those 10,000 runs. So you can see what does the distribution of the P&L look like. And I can set the confidence interval, set the number of days. I can run VAR just at the account level, or I can do it at the product level. So here I'm doing it at the product level, and so for the whole account, the VAR is 3.3 million, but then each product I can run those on its own, so that you can see, what's the relationship between the products, right? If I add all these up, it's going to be more than the 3.3 million. So I can see that there's some offset happening between all the accounts or all the products that I'm trading. I can include multiple accounts, or just check which account I want to run, set the confidence interval, let's change it to 99, and then just hit run, and then it's going to recalculate automatically, and you can see the results, and then click on each group if you want to see how the distribution looks for each group. You can also export the data and to see, let me pull what up that looks like. So this would be what the export looks like. You can drill down and see, okay, where is the VAR coming from? So for each individual instrument, you can see what is the total VAR, what's the position, what's the VAR of just a one lot, so normalizing things in terms of one lots, what's the current underlying, what's the simulated underlying, and then the volatility, and then the simulated volatility for the option. So you can really dig in and figure out where is the VAR coming from, and obviously then proactively, do things to mitigate the risk. You can also, obviously, we run VAR on demand here, but I'll show you in a bit, you can use the reports manager to automatically schedule VAR to run throughout the day, generate reports. So if you want to analyze things, you can, like I said, group accounts together. You can remove certain positions and then dig down to see where things are coming from. You can also run it based on start of day positions. So you can see what was my start of day VAR versus current VAR, and really analyze it at whatever level you want. Okay, let's talk about alerts. So this is the alerts component. So here I can have a bunch of different alerts and they're scheduled to run. Let's go ahead and show you how to create a new one. We basically have a little wizard that walks you through it. So I can name the alerts, call it demo. I can say whether it's enabled. I can say what time frame do I want it to run. And then I can pick what level, like what aggregation do I want the calculation to use. So I can, kind of pick the different hierarchies and say I want, firm level P&L or master account. You can customize how you want that. And then you can pick, which accounts do you want to include in this risk or in this alert? Do you want to include all the accounts, or maybe you want a specific account for a specific alert for each account? You can then set the trigger. So all of the risk metrics that we're calculating that I showed you earlier, you can create the alert based off of the calculations there. And then you can set the conditions. So I'm going to say if something's outside of a certain range, I want it to trigger the alert. And then you have a reset condition. So let's say this alert is triggered. You don't want it to keep alerting as the market continues to go down, as someone continues to lose money. So the way it'll work is the alert will trigger, and then it won't trigger again unless a reset condition is hit. So I can set the reset condition, and then if the reset condition triggers, then the alert would be reset. You can also configure the alert based off of product. So you can say, you can include everything, or you can say, I only want this alert to apply to equities, or I only want it to apply to certain, commodities. And then you can do it by product type as well as include timed expiration. So this is helpful. Some people set alerts that say, show me every account that has something expiring today. Or you can also use it as a way to make sure people aren't taking delivery or be at risk of taking delivery. So you could say, tell me if the position is greater than 0 for specific types of products that expire, or that are stopped trading within a certain period of time. So once you create the alert, you save it, you can see it here in your window. It'll tell you when's the last time it triggered, when's the last time it reset. And then you can define, how to get notified. So you can have it be sent to you or to a distribution list or to other specific people at your firm. There's also a log that'll tell you, every alert that's triggered, and we can export that and, send it to clients at the end of the day from a compliance standpoint. Okay, let's talk about reporting. So we have a reports manager where you could basically create your custom reports. You can then run them on demand, or you can schedule them to run. So let's look at creating a new report. So similar type of wizard to help things. You can name the report, pick which report you want. So snapshot is basically an extract of everything in the system at the lowest level, at the instrument level. So a lot of clients will run this report every 15 minutes or so, and then we automatically upload it to an FTP site for them, and then they take that and do whatever they need to do with it on their side, storing things, running custom reports, or however they want to leverage the data that we have. And a day P&L report, PDF report is more like a statement. So it's generates it shows P&L, a bunch of different things at the end of the day. Combined report is basically generating margin, P&L, VAR at every single account hierarchy. Slides report is a scenario analysis. So we walk through. Detail report is breaking things down for the scenario analysis at the individual instrument level. And then OCC report is showing you for risk-based haircut of portfolio margin, where is breaking down things at the instrument level. And I'll show you some of these reports as samples so you can see. But let's say we pick the slides report. So then I can customize, okay, do I want it to show P&L only or P&L with Greeks? Which template do I want to use? So we can pick those templates that we created and ran. How do you want to summarize things? Do you want to use current market vol, previous market vol? So you started position, do you want to calculate VAR? If you do, what's the confidence interval? And you can customize this and then say how do you want it run? So you can do a single run where it's just at a specific time, or you can do a recurring run. So you can say I want it to run every day at from this time to that time, every 60 minutes or 15 minutes, however you want to configure it. And then you can filter and say I want to include every account, or I want to run a specific report for a specific account. And then how do you want to be notified? You can send the report via email, same way as the alert, or it can upload it automatically to an FTP site that we have configured on our side. So let me show you just a couple of the reports. So this is a detailed report. So this is for a slide. It'll show you the VAR, the margin, the slide information that we saw on the risk slide page, but then it breaks things down by category. It breaks things down by each individual expiration, and then all the way down to the individual option positions. So scroll down, you'll see things, at the underlying level, and then there's ways to see it at the individual option as well. So people normally run this for a specific account to sort of really drill down and see where things are coming from. Then you've got your risk slide report, which is, let's pull this up here. So this is for, it says a CSV file that's generated, and you can, analyze the slides so you can see things across the accounts, across all the products, across all the Greeks, at every level you'd want. So you can really dig down and, see where things are coming from and take this data and ingest it internally. And then let's show you the OCC report. So this is a report, across multiple accounts. It's showing, what's the different scenario analysis using the OCC's theoretical prices. So it shows you, for these symbols, what is the risk-based haircut for each position. And it's basically just drilling down and showing you all the details. So again, you can run this report to see where things are coming from, or if you want to send this to a trader or a user to share that information. Okay, now let's talk about, let's see, I think that covers the majority of the functionality. Trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. I think certain things we do, like for cash bonds, we've been working with clients to, calculate, we, convert, if something trades in yield, we'll do the work to convert it to a price. We've worked to handle when issued bonds and making sure we get the pricing for those, and converting the yield into price for those. For spot FX, we've done work to make sure that we can handle forwards and options in spot FX. Obviously, with spot FX, there's really no published options market data. So the way we handle that is we can either take in the implied volatilities from our clients, or what we do is we use the previous day's settlement price, calculate a vol based on that, and then calculate a current option theoretical price based off of the previous day's vol and the current underlying price. So sort of keeping vol fixed if we don't have a source for the volatilities. We also, for the forwards in FX, we take the different tenors that are published through our market data feed, and then we interpolate, the price of a forward based off of where it falls, what's the date of that forward instrument. So all of those sort of type of things that we've built with our clients over the years, to make sure that we can handle all the different, types of products that they're trading. I think that covers everything. Is there any questions anyone has? When someone asked a question, let's see. Can you customer slides based on can you create customer slides based on clearing firm house policies, adjusting shocks and vol based on various scenarios? Yes. Let's dig a little bit more into that so we have some time, so I can show you, how that works. So you can create your custom scenarios. This basically is a way to create those templates. So, I have my demo template that I created here. These are basically various ones that I created. And so you can create the different scenarios and then determine, how you want to shock things. So if I add a new scenario here, I can say, okay, I want to shock a specific category. And let's say it's equities, and I want to shock those differently than everything else. And so I can shock it based off of standard deviation. I can put, up and down the 8 scenarios I want. I can shock vol however I want, and then I can add that scenario. And now it'll show me what that is, and I can manually change, things from here if I wanted to, actually make that 20 as opposed to, 1. So you can create these, customize them, and then they'll be saved, and you can, try to mimic what your FCM wants to, or certain, rules that you have that you want to mimic. Same things for VIX, like you can handle, so if you do, I think it is for the VIX, I think it would be the future chain. So you do VX, and then you can do things different by expiration. So you could shock the front month VIX differently than the back month. So you can, say I want to, shock the front month by X%, and then second month by X%, third month, you can shock it differently. And then as things roll on over time, it automatically fall into those different buckets. Someone asked, how does it work for the market data feeds? So for certain exchanges, we have the market data. So pretty much for all the U.S. Exchanges, U.S. futures, U.S. equities, we have those feeds. For certain exchanges, we use a market data vendor. So like for cash bonds, we use a market data vendor. And for the FX, spot FX, we use a market data vendor. But we pull those feeds in ourselves. And then, but for other exchanges where we don't have access to the data, we've built out mechanisms for clients to provide us with their own feeds. Because the way it's architected is each firm has their own instance of rival risk that's set up, on our side, and so we can set it up so that their specific instance of risk has access to data that they're providing to us directly. Another question on reports filters only for account. What happens when the account has different products like STIRs and fixed income? Will need to run slides at different percentages. So if your account has different types of products, that's where you would create different scenarios for those products. So let's say, you wanted to do STIRs differently, right? Or let's see, I think we have STIRs, yeah. So you don't want to shock a STIR by a percent, right? You want to use standard deviations. So you'd say, okay, for STIRs, I'm going to do standard deviations. And so now STIRs are going to be shocked by standard deviations, and then the default is by percent. So you can go through each category and determine how you want to shock them. So you can really kind of customize things however you want to. Another question is, can we go over the live view 20% shock and see how to set that up? Sure, let me show you that. So we showed this earlier where in the slide page, you can pick a scenario that you want to use and show in the live page. And the way it works, if I right click here, this option is going to let me pick the slide data I show here. So you pick which template you want. So these are the templates we created earlier. I can edit those straight from here like we did, and then I can pick the interval. So the lowest we allow for the slides is every 15 minutes, and then, or you could do 30 or 60 minutes. And then you pick which scenario. So the basically down 8, 1 through 8, or up 1 through 8, and those would correspond to the scenarios that you have in the editor. So for, let's say I'm picking demo and I'm doing down 6, that's the 20%. So you can set that, and then the other thing you could do, which is helpful, is create an alert for the slide. So if I go back to the alert page, there is a metric for the slide. So you have slide P&L as a metric that you can alert on. So basically you can create an alert that says, for example, down 20%, notify me if someone's losing more than X, down 20% or up 20%. We also have the equity column. So I don't have cash loaded in this demo account, but if I did, then there's an equity column that would show what's the P&L plus the equity. So you can basically see, is someone going to go negative equity? I'll add those equity columns here, but so you just see what they look like. But I don't have equity loaded, so it's just going to be the same as the P&L. But if I had, let's say in this account, I had 50 million of equity, then this number would be negative 1 million. So it's helpful to, then you can set an alert on that saying, hey, alert me if anybody's going to go negative equity, down X% or up X%. Let's see, any other questions?
That was the last of the questions I received.
Awesome. It looks like we're right on time. Well, thank you, everyone, for taking the time on this busy market day to check out Rival Risk. We will be sending out video in case people weren't able to attend. Obviously, if you have any questions or interested in using Rival Risk, please feel free to go to our website. There's a demo request form there. Fill that out. And then we will be in touch and can give you a more detailed overview and obviously walk through things. Oh, actually, one thing I forgot to mention that is important, sorry, is manually loading positions. So you can, if I right click, I can upload a position from a file. So this is helpful. We have clients that, you know, there's certain accounts that maybe are getting liquidated and there's auctions that happen on the exchanges. They take those positions, manually load them in to see, you know, what is, you know, what's the risk of that position. I think I have one I can quickly upload here. Yeah, let's see. So I can show you what that looks like. So I just loaded that, and then it adds a master account called manual. And then I can drill down and see, you know, what is I loaded SPX, some SPX positions. I can drill down and see what's the risk of those, what's the margin. I can do, you know, shock the manual account. So that's one other piece. I apologize, I forgot to mention earlier. But yeah, if you have any questions or, you know, want to have a detailed meeting to go over your specific needs, please feel free to go to our website, fill out the demo request form, and we'd be happy to work with you. Thanks, everybody. Take care.